Yeah, you did great.
Yeah, I think David can't hear you guys, and that's why he's not here. So, are you ready to see David Howard Thornton? The man, the myth, the legend.
Yay!
Welcome.
Why, thank you. There we go.
I know it's a little poppy.
Poppy.
It's all right. So, David, you guys may have seen him once or twice. You've done a couple movies.
Mm-hmm.
They're called Terrifier, where he plays a deranged killer psycho clown.
Yeah.
I think we nailed it.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about Art the Clown, because that character does a whole lot and doesn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
So what is what gets you into that headspace to, I don't know, kill people with chainsaws?
Oh, just all the bullying I went through in middle school.
It's up, Ray. Fair enough.
Yes. No, but I just kind of did my homework before I went to set, so I don't have to do the Jared Leto thing and act like Art the whole entire time on set.
Oh, okay. Thank God, because that would not be fun.
Yeah, I think everybody on the casting crew is very grateful for that.
You would need a whole new cast and crew every time you went to set.
Yeah, because it would probably kill me. Then they get arrested. But no, I just do my homework, and I basically based him off of like a bunch of like silent film characters, as well as a bunch of the horror icons that came before me, and a little bit of Joker too. So
a little Joker in there.
We'll mix all that together.
So, because you really, it's amazing the emotions that you can convey without saying anything. So, is that something like you really like worked and practiced on? And like, I don't know, were you a mime?
No, I was never a mime. Never call him the M word.
Oh, sorry. Oh, no.
You're about to get arted.
I know, sorry.
Yeah, that's what happened to Allie in part 2.
Oh, no.
She called him a mime.
Yeah, that's true. She did.
That's why she got the salt treatment.
Oh, the worst.
Yeah, she got assaulted. But no. I basically I was always just had a long appreciation for like silent film acting on physical comedy, and then I also realized like a few years ago, I went to my cousin's wedding, and my aunt Wanda, my mom's middle sister, is deaf. And I never really learned sign language as a kid, unlike my sister, who's like a champ at signing. But my aunt lip reads very well, and so I discovered this when I was talking to her at the wedding, and I was like, oh my God, this is where it all comes from, because everything I do with my aunt is very big and over the top and animated, a lot of body movements, and everything. So I basically act out everything I'm saying to her, and I'm like, oh, this is where it comes from. It's like, this is where so much of this comes from. I love to say, and I told her that. She's like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "Yeah."
What a legacy Aunt Wanda has created.
She's a hoot
for all of us horror fans.
Yeah, I love to tell this about her. It's like she doesn't scream like normal people, so she's really fun to watch horror movies with. Because first, she can't hear the music, so she gets scared more than anything else. Because she doesn't know something's coming. All of a sudden, something comes like, and she doesn't scream like everybody. She learned how to scream not from like normal, and she doesn't go, ah, no. She learned to scream from reading Donald Duck comic books. So instead of screaming, she goes, walk! It's the funniest thing. And then she's like, why are you laughing at me? It's like, well, you scream like a duck. I can't help it. This is how I learned.
Right. So, speaking of Screamboat's now out.
Yes.
And, yes. Melissa and I had the pleasure of getting a pizza and watching it together a couple weeks ago. We had a blast. We asked a few people here if they'd seen it. A few had. We were lucky enough to watch it. But how was that, like, filming?
Hot.
Yeah.
Very, very hot. I filmed that on the soundstage in Los Angeles last July.
Oh.
And, yeah, it was very, very hot. That costume, I would go through about 5 or 6 cooling vests in a day, because every time they would open it just so I could go to the restroom, you'd just see steam just coming out. It was so hot in that costume. But other than that, it was a lot of fun. But it was different for me because like all my other past projects, I've actually been in the same room with my co-stars and my victims and stuff like that. So I'm actually acting with them. this one I didn't really get to do that because I'm a tiny little mouse.
That was actually something Hannah and I talked about because we were like, how did he become so small?
Yeah.
Because it's freaky.
I tried to wash.
So we were wondering, how did you film that?
That's what they did. They filmed everything else on the actual Staten Island ferry, like Pete Davidson and Colin Jost, their ferry. And it's a decommissioned ferry, and it's sitting in dry dock there on Staten Island, so they filmed it there. And then in Los Angeles, they had what they did with like The Mandalorian and stuff like that, where they had that big screen behind them. They did that with me, and so they digitally projected what they had filmed behind me, and I was just acting with what was behind me, and I had giant props and everything like that. And so, or they would bring in there's one scene where I'm decapitating someone with a wire, and they had him sit way in front of me so we could do the whole horse perspective thing, so it looked like I was actually sawing off his head.
Oh wow!
It's weird. It's like, okay, you're way in front of me. I'm like, but I felt in a lot of ways like I was doing Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It was weird. I had these giant props especially this one certain giant prop. If you've seen the movie in a certain scene.
We had some questions about that.
Big Willie.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah, Big Willie. They got him in. I'm like, oh my god.
The fact that somebody had to have that commissioned, and they were like, "It's for a movie. It's fine."
Oh yeah, it was fun because like every single man on that set that day was like.
So yeah, watching a deranged take on Steamboat Willie was pretty funny. And then also, I loved, and Hannah noticed this, because every time you would come to murk someone, you would have a different whistle.
Yes.
And there were different songs, and I was like, what are
public domain?
I know, that's what I said. I was like, are they just going through the public domain? And then she said, but wait, they're kind of going with the killing, the way you would kind of kill. And I was like, that's brilliant.
There's a punchline with every single thing I was whistling, so yeah.
I think that's the thing about Screamboat, is you have to go into it knowing that it is aware of what it is.
Oh yeah.
And I love that it does not hold back from that. It leans completely, because it's such a different experience than Terrifier.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Terrifier is, well, it's terrifying. It's gory, it's gross, it's disgusting, respectfully.
Screamboat's silly. I call it a silly symphony of slaughter.
Exactly, there you go.
It's a good Disney joke there, too.
Yeah.
There's so many Disney jokes in it. Too. I'm a big Disney nerd, so I grew up with Disney. And so I've seen it like 4 or 5 times now, and every time I watch it, I still see new things I didn't know. I'm like, oh my god, that's a great joke there. How did I not notice that? They're hidden Mickeys throughout the movie too, which I think is great.
Oh, we'll have to go watch it again.
Oh yeah, there's so many small little details.
Little Easter eggs.
Oh, I love it. And that's the thing. It's a love letter to that company.
And they, I'm sure, love it back.
I hope so. I hope Bob Iger's like, I am never letting that man anywhere near any of our properties ever again. Both our intellectual properties and our like actual properties.
No, just wait till your other characters come alive.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Go to that public domain. David's after him.
Oh no! I'll play Goofy too. I'll do all of them.
So would you say when doing kind of like Screamboat, which is more of like your silly, horror, campy, just over the top, whereas Terrifier is over the top, but completely other direction, would you say like it's kind of still the same vibe getting into it and doing it?
Oh yeah, I just go in there and have fun.
Yeah.
I'm a silly goose. I go in there and I'm like, what silliness can I get up to today? Yeah. And I love it. I mean, especially with Screamboat, I knew how preposterous this was. So I'm like, this is just so silly. And I'm like, especially when I start doing it, and like the first thing I'm doing is getting into this mouse costume. And the first thing they do is put on the cowl. So I had the giant ears the whole entire time, and just sitting there in a makeup chair with these giant ears on. Yeah. This is so ridiculous. This is my life. Here I am in my mid-40s, and I'm just dressed as a giant mouse. I'm just like, this is
I was Art the Clown. Yeah. Sure, Grandpa, let's go to bed.
I was this giant mouse named Willie.
So as far as the makeup, I mean, so how long did it take to do this, Screamboat makeup versus, your art application?
Yeah.
I know you guys are, you do that often. So more often than,
It was different because like art takes about an hour and a half to get into, depending on how much battle damage I have on my face and stuff like that. And a lot of blood splatters that we have to do continuity wise.
Yeah.
A pain. blood continuity is such a pain.
I bet that would be a pain.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
didn't
where did
even
all
think
the
about
little
that.
drops go? You're like, oh god, because you know there's going to be some of the, excuse me, but in scene this, you had your blood, but in the next scene, it was not smeared the same way, but then it was back later on. I cannot watch this movie. It is inconceivable what is happening here. None of this is preposterous.
Sir, I have frozen somebody and then punched their head in, so...
No.
Inconceivable is what we're going for here.
No, but I know you have come back from the dead twice. Even Christ himself. But this is ridiculous. You got the wrong blood splatters. So we're always joking about that on set. It's like, okay, we got to get it right. We're going to get hate comments. But for Willie, that took about 4 hours to get into that makeup.
Oh, wow.
So that's because they not only do they have to glue the prosthetic, they have to blend in all the fur into it. So it just looks like one big piece. And I had a great makeup artist. Her name's Margaret Prentice, and she's been working in this field for like decades. I mean, she did like RoboCop, she did like Hocus Pocus and Hellboy.
Oh, wow.
And so she's done so many amazing things. So I had fun just in the chair with her every single day because I got to hear all of her stories, all the people she's worked with and stuff. Because that makeup artists are the ones that got all the tea on everybody on set.
Ooh, yeah.
Because especially the actors, because because it's like a therapy session when you're sitting in that chair. So they get to know the actors better than anybody else, I would say. And it's like, oh, tell me about Ron Perlman and Doug Jones and all that. And it's like, just spill the tea. And they're like, oh, they're just wonderful people. And I'm like, this is so cool. I love this. So, and she and I also played a good prank on our director one day.
Okay, you have to tell us.
Yeah, because he brought, she had these milk duds one day. And I'm like, God, you know what those look like? It looks like mouse poop. Like, hey, I got an idea. And so, I had her waiting all day for this, and I was like, I'll give you the signal when to come do it. And so Steve, my director, has given me some direction, and I just signaled to Margaret. She comes up, sneaks up, puts them in the hand behind me. And I'm just sitting there with Steve's just going on and on with direction. I knew what he wanted, but he likes to go on and on and on and on. And I'm like, and I'm like, oh. And I just let him loose. And he's like, oh God, It was good because at that time of the day, tensions were a little big because we were on a tight schedule, and I think so I helped relax things on set. So it's like, he's the mood, and like, it's a poop joke, great.
So how often did stuff like that happen on the set of the Terrifier films?
Oh, there's all kinds of hijinks going on all the time. It's just like we're all crazy. Mm-hmm. So we get by. Everybody would think these sets are the most morose things. Like, oh no, we're all just joking around all the time.
I feel like you'd have to take yourself out of that a little bit
Oh,
because some of the stuff you do as art is horrifying.
It's horrible.
Yes.
Horrible things. They do very, very horrible things. And I think that's how we keep our sanity. It's like, let's do something crazy.
Yes.
It's like, here I am, like shoving a tube down a woman's throat and putting rats in the tube. And,
Speaking of that tube, do you want to tell us what was in it?
Yeah.
What made the... I know how much you love puke scenes.
I do not like puke. That's the scene where I almost puked on set because I do not like puke. I'm like, I can handle blood and poop and all that kind of stuff, no problem.
And poop jokes.
Poop jokes, fine.
Yes.
It's fine, but puke, I'm just like, no. Even like when I watch all the Jackass movies, the one part, so I watch it, I'm like, oh God, okay. And they all knew I don't like puke. And so they just encouraged it more and more. Like, let's dig down as much as possible. And they use this nasty cream of mushroom soup. And they put extra stuff like oatmeal and stuff like just to add more.
Make it chunky.
And it smelled so bad. And it was hot in that house. And there was just a cacophony of horrible smells. And they're just like, ha, Dave, come on, you can do it. I'm like, can Steve, who would also usually fill in for me when I was in makeup, so if they needed like an arm or something in a shot, Steve would put on the costume and be my arm. I'm like, can Steve just be my arm right now? This is gross, guys. I'm like, no, your face is totally in the shot, Dave. My face was never in the shot.
Oh, that was
It was never in the shot. And they're just all on the side filming with their cameras. And I was like, oh, David's going to throw up. David's got to throw up. This is going to be great for publicity. It's going to be a scene that makes David lose it. I'm like, fuck you guys. Sorry, kids. Oh, earmuffs. But, and then Samantha comes down wearing the Victoria makeup, so she already looked hideous. Yes. And she's eating this foul-smelling bag of corn nuts. That was I don't know what flavor it was, but it smelled horrible. It smelled like death. And she comes over to me, just right in my face, just breathing in my face heavily, with a hey, what's wrong? I'm like, oh. I'm like, why? The rats were cute, though.
I bet they were.
The rats were adorable. I love the rats. I feel like rats get such a bad rap.
They do.
I'm like, I think it's the tails. I think the tails look like
They are
worms
little-
to people.
yeah.
They look gross, but
They're wormy.
they're so cute and they're so sweet. They poop everywhere, though. But they didn't poop on me, but they pooped on everybody else. I was like, ha, that's what you guys get.
They knew they were taking up for you.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we got your back. We have the same name, but just spelled differently.
Yeah,
Rat,
art.
art, yep.
Yep, fair
So
enough.
I did see recently that we will learn about Art's backstory within the first 15 minutes of Terrifier 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
How
we won't
exciting
know.
is that?
I'm
You guys
excited.
aren't shooting yet, right?
No,
So we're just
he's
getting
still
worked on.
writing it, so I don't know what the heck's happening.
Yeah.
I just know I was left on the bus. That's all I know. I'm like the anti-Rosa Parks right now. They put me at the front of the bus, and I'm not going to be nonviolent. So, so yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen.
So, because Art the Clown was a character before you
Yes.
took over for the
Yes.
Terrifier movies, but you have really created the character that we see on screen. It's a totally different experience from watching the very first Art. And so I have to know with like the whole, what was I saying? What were you saying?
Something about other art and
Yes, you were Art, and then what was the
It's
first?
early in the morning, guys.
I know. I'm sorry. I hadn't finished my
Sunday.
caffeine. I didn't have coffee. We didn't have coffee at the hotel.
So I'm wondering if you were asking something along the lines of, like, how did you bring this character to life, having seen him being
Well, yeah.
something prior?
Oh, yeah.
How did you change the character? Did you do, I mean, obviously you brought a lot
No,
more life
I was
to
gonna
it.
say this is what it was. I'm
She's
sorry.
back. She's back.
I'm back. Sorry.
We're back.
ADHD. I didn't take my meds this morning.
Squirrel.
Yes, exactly.
Welcome to Melissa.
How much input do you have on the backstory? That's what I wanted to
Yeah,
know. Like, did you kind of like create a backstory with him that you've shared with Damien?
Yeah, like my very first day in the makeup chair, I was like, when I was doing my makeup test, I'm like, Damien, tell me everything about this character, because I want to know where
Yes.
to go with him and stuff like that. And Damien's like, is he kill a clown?
He's like, he's a clown and he kills people.
Yeah.
What do you need to know?
Yeah, I'm like, okay. I was like, well, why don't we just come up with that together?
Yeah.
And so like over the years, we've been going back and forth with each other with like backstory ideas. And so we've thrown so many around, I don't know what he's landed on.
Okay.
And so, but he does, of course, now because he's written the scene. He's already told me, he's like, oh, you're going to love what we're doing with the scene. So I think I have an inkling of how he's going to approach it, which makes me very, very excited, especially leaning into my comedy roots.
Okay.
And so I'm like, ooh, but I don't know what he's landed on. So I'm as excited as you are.
Yeah.
You know I'm like, Damien, hurry up and finish the script so I know what's going on. Because he's, in the past, like the past two scripts, he's like consulted with myself and the other actors, just like bouncing ideas off of us.
Yeah.
And especially over kill scenes and stuff, like we used to sit there and just come up with crazy ideas for kill scenes. And this time he's not done that.
Oh.
He's keeping everything close to his vest and everything like that. I guess he's probably afraid one of it's going to be like Tom Holland and spill some beans or something. But I am very anxious to see what he's coming up with. And
Yeah.
I know everybody else is too. Like what's going on? He's only told me like it's going to be like part 2 on steroids.
Okay.
So I guess that means something. So
Yeah.
Sounds like campy and killy to me.
yeah, I'm thinking there's going to be, especially with how it ended with Gabby going down
Yes.
the pits of hell. I imagine there's going to be some of that involved in there. So I'm very interested to see what all's
Yeah.
going to happen with all
Yeah.
that. And so
Because I was wondering if you kind of had your own little backstory you made up.
yeah, I have my own. I
Okay.
have my own, but you know.
Oh, he's not going to tell us, though.
Of course, I can't say.
I did like one time, I've heard you mention that you like to picture that Art came out of the womb and then strangled his mom.
Yeah.
With the umbilical cord.
Yeah, that's how I imagine, like, he...
So you're saying he's not a good guy?
No, that's one thing, Damien, when we were discussing backstories, because I came up with some sympathetic ones and stuff like that, and he's like, no, that's the one thing I don't want people ever to feel sorry for this guy. And I was like, I want this guy to be basically just evil incarnate, and that's why hell latched onto this guy. They're like, we want this guy to be our avatar on Earth. So I'm like, oh, okay, so he's just innately evil. So I'm like, yeah, I imagine him just coming out with his mom and just strangling her with the umbilical cord. And that's just, ain't he a sweetheart?
Sweet baby Art.
Sweet baby Art. Oh, he's so cute. Look at that punum.
I've wondered a few times if like Art is short for Arthur. You know, like maybe that was his little baby name.
Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows?
Arthur.
Yeah.
Arthur is his government name.
That's
Yeah,
his
that's his
government
government
name.
name.
That's not baby name. So as far as kills go, what would you think is your favorite for Art?
My favorite so far, and because there's so many fun ones, but I'm like, I always like the more over-the-top crazy ones, and so my favorite one was Santa Claus. I just thought that was just funny, and I love Christmas horror movies anyway, and I was like, this is a great idea, turning him into a snowman. And
Yes.
we were actually going to go further with it. We just literally ran out of time with that kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also we didn't have access to certain... We wanted to play Frosty the Snowman while I was doing it, and it's like, oh, well, unfortunately, it's not public domain, so we're like, oh, well, we'll have to pay a lot of money for that song. But because you see me kind of dancing around, I was supposed to have gone to the jukebox and turned on the music, and I was dancing to the music, but we just didn't have that in there. So I was like, oh well, still looks like I'm happy about doing what I'm doing. But I was also going to take, in addition to the carrot in the nose, I was going to take coal and light it on fire and shove it into his eyes. And we literally just ran out of time. I was like, there's no way we're going to get time to do that. I'm like,
It was still creative, though.
oh, it's still very great. I
Yes.
mean, ripping
And
off
very
his
fun.
face. And,
Yes,
you know,
it was-
and freezing him. And
For the children in the back, a pretend Santa, not the real one.
Not the
He's
real
fine.
Santa. He's
Real Santa is totally
He's
fine.
fine. He's just worrying about tariffs right now. That's all.
Yeah, that's it. You know, it's all good. Well, I've got to know, do you have a dream weapon to use on set?
Oh my gosh! I mean, I did have fun with that flamethrower. That was a lot of fun. I actually had to call my dad up at the end of that day because, like, Dad, I got to shoot a Tommy gun and a flamethrower today, and I lit somebody on fire. It was awesome.
He said, good job.
And it's like, yeah, you're 40 years old. I'm like, yeah, but that was fun. I'm a big boy. I lit someone on fire. Yeah, nothing prepares you for lighting a human being on fire. Because I literally did that. That was her, the stunt double, and she's also doubled for Sienna in the films too.
Oh, wow.
So she's a badass. She's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like she did like that big fall that happens when I push Sienna in part 2. She did that, and she like dropped like 30 feet. And I was like, oh, and she like lands, and there's silence for like 30 seconds. We're like, oh God, then we hear like, I'm okay. Okay. Oh, you're awesome. Because she overjumped. She almost hit her head. I think she pushed off too far. And we're like, oh God, Jenna, no. But she was good. But yeah, so when I lit her on fire, they covered her in all the chemicals and stuff like that. It's like, that's a very specialized stunt. You have to be. It's one of the most dangerous stunts anybody can do because you cannot breathe when you're doing that. Because if you inhale, you'll breathe in the fire and you can burn your insides. So they have to not breathe when they're screaming and stuff like that. So they have to. Everything's got to be an exhale, and you can only do it for like 30 seconds, and then they stop, drop, and roll basically. So I was supposed to go one whoosh on the front and one whoosh on her back. And I got her on the first whoosh, and she just... Oh. And they're like, okay, stop. I'm like, okay. And I still had the camera on me, so I had to act like I wasn't going, oh, my God. At the same time, so I just act like I'm excited, but in my head I'm going, oh, my God, get away, get away, get away, get away, get away. Because they had to come in, run in, and like, put her out and everything like that. So it's a different form of acting there, because inside you're going, oh, And outside, you're like, I'm having fun.
Danger close to David's origin story there.
Danger, danger. There go my eyebrows.
So what was it like working on, because the original Terrifier was cool because it was just kind of like this little movie that ended up on streaming services.
Yes.
That I had heard about through the grapevine, like through some friends. And then, so I watched it and I was like, this is really good. And then you started slowly seeing like Art the Clowns with kind of the big slashers. Like you see like typically groups that you have an Art and a Michael Myers and a Jason. But then the second movie, it's amazing the difference in like the production. But then that third movie, and then seeing it really become very mainstream. Okay. How has that like been for you?
That's been nuts.
I bet.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because like when we made part 1, we made that for $35,000.
Wow.
And I like, my agent at the time fought me on auditioning for it because she's like, this is not going to do anything for you. This is a low budget independent film. I was making like $100 a day on it. Uh-huh. She's like, this is a waste of your time. And I'm like, no, I want this experience. I want to, it looks like fun. It'd be great for a reel and stuff like that. But none of us thought when we did part 1 that it was going to become what it was. Yeah. It was like, we'll be lucky if 5 people see this movie and it's on YouTube, or something like that. So it's definitely surpassed what we thought this was going to become.
I feel like it's kind of almost got to like cult classic status in like a very quick time.
Yes, it's like especially now. It's like I can just walk around, not even at conventions, but in public, and I see like Terrifier merchandise. It's like, and I've had so many like friends. Like, I was at the grocery store today, and I saw Art the Clown gummies. And I'm like, what? Just at that random grocery store, and they see my face. I'm like, this is, especially with a horror character. I'm like, it makes me think back to, like, the 80s when I was growing up, when you saw, like, Freddy Krueger.
Oh, yeah.
I would be at the shoe carnival, and I'm buying my kids' shoes, and there's Freddy Krueger dolls hanging up in there. Like, yeah. And that's what I remember. I'm like, this is nuts.
It is. It's crazy, like, how I feel like really since the very first Terrifier, how, like, it has become so mainstream when it was originally just this movie that I heard about through the grapevine. Just had friends saying, like, hey, watch this. This is pretty good. Yeah. So that's awesome.
It's crazy.
And that's a testament to you and what you've brought to the character.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just happy with it. It's definitely surpassed my wildest expectations, but it's because you guys have gone out there and just, spread the word. And that's I mean, part 2 is fully funded by the fans, basically.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like, we had a little bit of independent funding, but, like, I would say about 90% of Terrifier 2's budget came from the Indiegogo campaign.
That's incredible,
yeah. Yeah, so it's truly a fan-driven franchise, which is unlike what you see in Hollywood, because all those other things that have been put out, those are all the big studios throwing things out. This was purely just fan-driven. And it's been pretty cool to see the power of a fan base and what it can lead to.
It's awesome.
So it's up to you guys.
Yeah. Speaking of you guys, we're going to open this up for Q&A.
Yeah, so if you guys have questions, if you want to, like, I don't know, what's the best way to do this? Maybe line up?
Liberty was doing finger
okay, so you guys want to line up, like, down here if you have questions? Oh, come on, there's got to be more of you.
We don't bite. Well, they might bite.
So I'm just curious. I know that you've done The Mean One, and now you've done Steamboat. Is there something that attracts you to specific childhood characters, and are you looking to do more of that in the future?
It's just one of those things that just happen by pure happenstance, but I do see something that's kind of fun about doing, like, bringing a new twist to these childhood, like, love characters, and it's just like doing some kind of dark twist on them. It's just something like that's always intrigued me. I've always loved like a horror bent on something like that. So I have, if people offer me more, sure, why not? I'm like, it's fun for me. It's like I love traumatizing people. So like, oh no, you destroyed my childhood. I've got so many comments like that. Like, how dare you do this to my childhood? I'm like,
no, it's not that. I love it.
Oh, no, I was like, do you not remember how it was growing up in the 80s? Everything was dramatic. It's like especially like Never-Ending Story, any Disney movie. Everybody, all the parents were dying in Disney movies, and just like, you look at Bambi, He's like, you have one shot where his mom dies. The next shot is like, hey, it's spring. Hey, forget about the bad stuff. It's like it seems like the generation I grew up in is like, yeah, let's scare the crap out of the kids. I'll get them to behave.
Right.
It worked.
So what's your opinion on the Ice Nine Kill song? Did you have any input on it, or were they like, hey, can we borrow you for that?
Yeah, that was fun, because I had met Spencer like a few years prior when he came through New York on tour, because he was telling me he was a big fan. It was like right after part 2 came out. He's like, I'm a big, huge fan. You guys want to come to the concert and everything like that? So he got like myself and Damien and Elliot, tickets to the show, and then we hung out with the band afterwards, and I was like, oh my God, I know Elliot was already a fan of them and stuff like that, and he's like, oh yeah, you're gonna love this, it's really cool, they do a great job, and the music's cool. I'm like, okay, cool. And it was a fun show, and I'm like, the production value, and I went and like saw their music videos too right before the show, and it's like, oh my God, the production value in their music videos is like watching them. It's like when I was growing up in the 80s and watching all the MTV videos, like, especially like Thriller or anything by like Weird Al, where like they're making their own mini movies. Yeah. I'm like, this is amazing. So we hung out with all of them afterwards, and like we became like instant buddies. Like Spencer's a fellow nerd; he's a huge film buff, and I was like, dude, your production value on your videos is fantastic. It's like, we got to collaborate one of these days. He's like, that's awesome to hear, because I got an idea for eventually doing something with art in like one of our, doing a song about art or something like that. I'm like, oh man, well if you do that, we got to do a video. And he eventually came up with the idea for the Art of Dying, and I'm like, this is amazing. And he came to me, he's like, can you do this? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And so we filmed it last summer. And we had Damien made him tone it down, which is funny. Usually it's the other way around, because like when the baby comes out. They wanted me to like whip the baby around with an umbilical cord, and Damien's like, no, that's where I draw the line. I'm not letting you hurt a baby. The baby's got to live. It's like, we're gonna get too much hate if we let the baby die in this thing. So that's why Art like tosses the baby and someone catches it and stuff like that. And that was like the hardest thing I had to do in the
children is fine. Draw the line.
Draw the line. That baby looks so real too. It's like this prosthetic baby. I'm like, this is crazy. But like, we did one take where I tossed it behind me. That's the one they used. But they had all these other takes where they wanted me to toss it in front of me. And they this one shot, they had all these cameras coming up at me. They're like, they wanted me to toss it through this like maybe like this like 3x1 little slot here between all these cameras, like these. Thousands of dollars for these guys. And they're like, just toss the baby. I'm like, I don't have my glasses on right now. I have horrible depth perception. And they're like, well, toss it. I'm like, I'm trying to focus on how to toss this through this tiny, and I eventually make it like, it looks horrible. And they're like, yeah, but I'm not going to be responsible for breaking all this expensive equipment. So like, I'm glad that we did that one take where I was like, whee! I had a lot of fun with that baby doll. I did a whole Lion King thing with it. That was a very silly week. It was like, because they also didn't tell all the people that were there that they were doing something related to Terrifier. They just said they're filming another Ice Nine Kill. So I walked out and surprised everybody, and they're like, oh my God! Oh! So yeah, that was fun. That was fun. And also, I love this part too, is like when I killed everybody with the chain gun. All those extras are lying down on the ground for so long because they was take after take having set everything up. They didn't want people moving out of their spots. And I was like, I am so sorry, everybody, because I know you're all cramping up. And all of a sudden, like, we did one take, and I just hear this after they say cut. I just hear this. And there's this guy just totally asleep right next to us, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun. So I just like stood right over, and I just started like. Touching his nose, and he opens his eyes and like, wakey, it's a Becky. He's like, ah! It was fun.
The first movie's obviously my favorite, but I love the bike scene that you do, and I wanted to know what your favorite part of that movie was, or if like that was in the top of them, because I love that scene. Yes. Yeah,
we were delirious that night. That was like maybe night 3 or 4 of like all these back-to-back, overnights. So we were just. And that was real. Like, when you see me crash the bike, that was a real crash. And they just thought that was hysterical, so they kept it in the movie. I was falling over so many times on that bike, because I really did that. I was determined to ride that bicycle, because it's a tiny little bike. Some people like, it's a tricycle. No, it's a bicycle. And it was tiny, and I had those big, huge feet, too. And it's like, this is a challenge, and the ground was slick, so I was sometimes just be in one place, just spinning the wheels. I'm like, I am trying to go, and I'll So that was one of my favorite nights. Samantha was on set that night too, so she did a lot of taping. So you've probably seen that little behind the scenes where I'm singing Bicycle Race and everything. Because I was just joking around so much. But that's definitely one of my favorite parts. But my favorite part, I think, was in the movie was filming the diner scene. Yeah, because that's also where the character of Art really solidified itself for everybody, I think, because we filmed that early on. We're like, okay, this is where this character needs to live. A little bit of funny goofiness to him. Like, when I jumped up and walked away to the bathroom, Damien's like, I never thought of him that way, but that totally works. Because he was just like, I would just walk normally, but that little happy little jaunt, and he's like, I like this.
I think that's why it works.
Yeah.
Because there is like a comedy element to the Terrifier movies.
That's how I looked at him. Well, he's a clown, so there's got to be something that's
a little lazy.
Yeah, you got to have a little one, because I figured that's what's going to separate him from all these other silent slashers.
Yeah.
This is like, you got to have that little, like, blend that silent slasher with like the campiness and the fun.
Like, he's
Freddy.
sad, but you want to see him on screen.
Yeah.
Like, you're kind of like, oh, go Art, but
You shouldn't be cheering
But,
for
like,
him, but
don't.
you do.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah. Oh, you're very welcome. I just go off on tangents.
that's what we're here for.
If you could put your own spin on like any other horror character, who would it be?
Oh, jeez. I mean, I kind of got to do a little bit of that with the Joker recently, and Joker's Wild. So I think that would be fun to do, because you know, if you've read the comic books, Joker gets really dark at times. He's done some really, really dark, horrible things, and like, films have never really shown that side of him before. They almost go there, but they don't. So we kind of did that in Joker's Wild. So I would love an opportunity to explore more of that with that character, especially in that way. We've got some ideas that I think we're trying to come up with a pitch deck to pitch to Warner Brothers. But who knows? Because especially with James Gunn, who has his whole background in trauma. That's where he started, was Romeo and Juliet way back in the day, and he has that background in horror. He loves it. I mean, if you watch Creature Commandos, there's a lot of gore in that. And it's like, yeah. So I would like to bring that kind of darkness to the Joker, but still have the fun side of him, too. But I think that's what works so well with him. I mean, there's a whole bit in the comic books where he's cut off his face and reattaches it. There's a whole bit where he, like, flays a guy that had been abusing Harley Quinn when he was in jail, like, skins him and throws him out on stage in front of all these people while he's dying, his skin's ripped off of him. I'm like, yeah, or he's like, he kills Gordon's wife by like throwing a baby to her to distract her, so she's trying to catch the baby, and he shoots her, and she dies in this room full of all these babies. And it's like, he's dark, and so I would like to take that direction with the character one day, make him true to the comic book.
Who do we write to make this happen?
James Gunn.
Sean got to autograph on it.
Really? Oh my God! Hey, Sean, so my man over here.
She also has Guy Fieri's on the other arm if you need anything from him.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm the weirdo over here, just hiding in the corner. I do have a special announcement for everybody, though. You may not know this. It may be an announcement for you, too. A special pro photo op at 2:30 with you. Yay! That's the one in the room right next to this one. So it's the pro. You get it printed out. You take it home with you today. And cash or card. Boom. That's right. Credit cards, people. So, cash. Yeah. 2:30. So you can go ahead and pre-pay for those if you want to. Okay. Is this a surprise? Are you terrified?
I didn't put on my face.
Are you going to present?
No. I mean, like this face.
It will be this face in that room.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
who wants to get one of those? Woo! So,
To hype you up and humble you.
That is all. Go back to your panel.
I'll be every one of your room, by the way. I love that guy. It's great. Underrated.
I was curious, because you've become a horror icon yourself now. I assume that you have like a lot of love for horror in your heart.
Yes.
What are the franchises and horror films that have been the closest to your heart throughout your life?
Oh gosh, I would say, of course, like Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Freddy is my queen, so I love Nightmare movies. It's just like, oh gosh, such a fun character. Oh my god. No one's gonna beat that character. To me, he's the king. He's the best horror icon ever created. Because he's so much fun and he's scary. Because like all these other guys, you can get in the car and drive away. You can't drive away from Freddy. He's in your head, and I love that idea. And there's infinite possibilities with the character. So that's one franchise. Also, Scream. I love Scream so much. And that's also is near and dear to my heart because Scream 2 was the very first horror film I actually saw in the theater. Yeah, I was a big chicken for the longest time until my senior year of high school because my mom was afraid of horror movies, so we never watched horror movies in my family. My mom thought The Fall of the House of Usher was the scariest movie she had ever seen. Like the old Vincent Price one. Yeah. She's like, yeah. I'm like, no. So I was doing a show in high school and Christmas Carol. Scream 2 had just come out, and the cast wanted to go see Scream 2. And there was a girl in the cast I had a crush on, and I'm like, oh, and she's like, so you can come? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And so I went, and I was like, oh, God, I'm going to be so scared. And I was having the most fun. And so after I saw Scream 2, I immediately go back and watch Scream 1, because my best friend had been always telling me, like, Scream 1 is wonderful. You'll love it. You've got to watch this. And I just fell in love with that franchise. So I love that. I love the Saw franchise. I love Halloween. Love Friday the 13th. I love the classics. They're great in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all that. So I have a deep appreciation. And that's why I wanted to put a lot of those little bits and pieces of those characters inside of art, because I look at him as being the ultimate horror icon fanboy. There's little bits and pieces of every horror icon performed inside of his personality.
Attention HorrorCon fans. 15 minutes left for the panel.
Okay. I was like, what did I do now?
Why'd you leave?
No, I feel like I needed to.
So, what was your favorite moment while filming the Terrifier films?
My favorite moment, I would say, was filming the bar scene with these guys. Because, like, I grew up watching, like, Danny Roebuck and Clint Howard and Brundley Stryker, especially the first two, in so many movies and TV shows. And that was the most fun week, because, like, Damien had the whole scene scripted out and everything, so they had their lines, but he was also like, okay, you guys are seasoned pros, so I know what I wrote, but if you can think of anything else to make this even better, go ahead. And so we just played for all these days we were on set, and we had so much fun. We're just cracking each other up, and I'm doing scenes with these men that I have basically idolized for years. These are Scream legends, and I get to just do my thing with them, especially Danny and I. When we're doing the torture scene with him and Santa, he was just improvising. And he was just all this, like, I got kids, blah, 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 no, Connie, no. It was hysterical, but he's throwing me so much great material just to act off. So he was giving me so much more stuff to work with. So I was coming up with more ideas of how to react to him. And it's a testament to Danny. You can tell he's a really good stage actor that knows how to do comedy, because he knows how to be a great straight man. Because a straight man they don't get the appreciation I think straight men deserve in comedy, because a scene does not work without them. They're the ones setting up the joke, and it's the comic relief that capitalizes off of that. And Danny was just giving me so much great material to work on. So I had so much fun doing those scenes. It was just that I actually left set that last day, a little bit of tears coming out of my eyes, because I was like, I got to do something amazing. Yeah. It was just like, with these guys, I respected so long. And it was just fun. It was a lot of fun. And there's a fun little other backstory to this I shouldn't tell you, but
we've got 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yay!
Because it's a whole thing that's happened in every Terrifier film. Cops have been involved in some way or another. The first film, it's like there was this one night where I'm sitting there, they're filming Jenna getting shot in the head, and I'm just sitting there waiting to go on, and there's this, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning in Trenton, New Jersey, outside the building, there's these two women having a big Jerry Springer-like argument. And I'm like, well, I'm going to watch this, I'm bored. And I forgot how I looked. And I had blood all over my face and everything, and I'm just watching this argument, and one of them looks up and sees me, and I just wave at her, I'm like, hi. And she's like, ah! Because we're in this like abandoned building too, so then she sees that face staring down at her from this window of this abandoned building at 2 o'clock in the morning in this very dangerous part of Trenton. Back in 15.
That's when the
Yeah.
strange clowns were out.
Yes, I did.
That's where that happened.
Yeah. And so, about 15 minutes later, our producer and Damien and DP come in kind of giggling like, Dave, so we got someone here that's like wants to see you. And at the time, Phil was doing a project with Tom Sizemore. And so I thought Tom Sizemore was going to come visit our set because there was talks that he was going to come visit. So I was like, oh, sweet, okay, cool. And they're like, well, there's like this roll-up garage door, and they're like, okay, Dave, don't come out till we tell you. I'm like, okay. So I'm waiting, I'm like, we're going to be Tom Sizemore. This is going to be cool. And they're like, come on out, Dave. So I come up, and I'm coming under the door, and I look up, and there's about 15 of New Jersey's finest in one way. And I'm like, and I just felt my butt pucker. And I'm like, I'm gonna die. And it's just quiet, and I just like let out this little, what's up, guys? And they're still quiet, and I'm like, oh, this is where I die. This is where I die. And then they just start laughing. And they're like, oh, and they're like, yeah, man, if you had come out here first, we would have shot you on sight. I believe you. And there was even one, I was taking pictures with them, and there's like this one cop that was deathly afraid of clowns. He's like, no, man, no, I can't come near you. I can't come near you, man. No, stay away from me. I'm like, dude, you got a rocket launcher on you. I think you're going to be okay. He's like, nah, man, no, stop, man. And it was like, yeah, so that was the first one. The second one, in part 2, I was at the laundromat scene. And there's a shot where I come walking in from outside, and so I was walking in across the street, and it was about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning when people were starting to go to work there in New Jersey. I'm covered in blood and everything like that. And I come in and do my thing. Hello, goodbye. and I'm sitting there, and then we've already filmed that stuff, so we jump ahead to the part where I'm basically naked in the laundromat, and I'm sitting there with a newspaper over me, and all of a sudden the cop car pulls up, and I'm like,
Oh no.
and like this very attractive female cop comes out of the car too, and I'm like, oh great. And Damien's like, Dave, let's mess with the cops again. I'm like, no, absolutely not. I am naked and covered in blood. No. And she comes in, she's like, so I hear there was a clown covered in blood that came in here. And I lean forward, I'm like, hi, that was me, hi. And she's like, can you stand up for me, sir? I'm like, oh, you don't want that. You don't want that, not right now.
That's another charge.
No. She's like, well, I see why we were called. So that's that story. Part 3.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were
You hush.
Oh my God.
Go to the wall.
That's my corner. You're gonna be the final question. Pop quiz. What time is the professional photo op?
2:30.
When I'm done talking.
Cash or card? Next door. You can prepay for it over yonder.
Okay.
Okay, we want to hear part 3.
So
Yeah.
no, we're gonna take your photo before everybody leaves.
Okay,
Sorry,
bye.
she had a concussion.
Security!
Sorry.
Part 3, we find out that like this whole entire time we've been filming the bar scene,
Yes.
we were under FBI surveillance. Because the feds were involved. Because like one of them, like Damien found this out because one of his friends works for the FBI. He's like, yeah, we've been watching part 3 being filmed. And he's like, what? So apparently one of the biggest drug busts ever on Staten Island happened there shortly after we filmed. They were monitoring that building, and we're like, oh no, which is really bad because we had the fake snow, the gold stuff that I was shooting onto Santa, and Danny was even joking around. It's like, oh, he brought me my cocaine. And we're like, oh no, that's not what we were doing, and we had no idea. They had seen me changing it because I was changing the back kitchen and stuff like that. I was like, oh no, these poor guys are watching me change. I'm like, oh no. So that was like, yeah, it wouldn't be a Terrifier film without the cops involved somehow.
I'm excited to hear part 4 to this.
Oh, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
We don't have time for that today, sorry.
It hasn't been filmed yet, Liberty.
It's probably FBI files on your
Oh,
nudity scene.
yeah, you know it.
Also, let me take just a
Cash
moment to
Patel's
say
coming after me soon.
thank you for going, full frontal first.
That's why Cash has that look on his face all the time. Look, you saw me in the back room during Terrifier 3. Saw those tapes.
I'm a big fan of the Joker as a literary character as well, and I just wanted to pick your brain on A, favorite Joker, but B, do you realize you're basically doing Cesar Romero in a clown face? Because that's what I grew up with, the Adam West, Batman, and just he is next to Jack Nicholson, which I just love. Just Cesar Romero is my favorite Joker, and that's what I see. As art.
Oh, really? I could see that.
Because he's so manic, he's so everywhere, and so self-obsessed with just having a good time, which is a bad thing for a
That's what I love. Is like that's something I added to it intentionally was Joker, a lot of Joker into art because Joker and art both love what they do. They know they are the villain. They aren't, because there are a lot of villains out there that don't realize they're the bad guy. They think they're doing something righteous and stuff like that, which is interesting in itself. But those are the type of villains that revel in what they're doing, the horrible things they're doing, and they find it funny. With the Joker, he just sees life as one giant, dark, pathetic joke.
It's a favorite Joker.
Yeah, and so my favorite is Mark Hamill's Joker. I just think Mark is
Of course.
I wish he could have actually done it live action because you see him in the recording booth and he's just acting it out and everything. It's to me, Mark understood the comic book version of the Joker. He understood that there is a duality to this character where he's very dark and gruesome, but he's also very funny, and he knew how to walk that line of the comedy and the horror at the same time. And he has a realness to the character. So, my version, and of course, Cesar Romero is fantastic. I think he's the best live-action Joker. He was the most comic-accurate version that we've had so far. Much respect to Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger as well. Not Jared Leto. Fuck that version. But I just think that he would truly encapsulate. My version of the Joker is a blend of Romero and Hamill. But I also threw a little Vincent Price into my version as well because I kind of see, because Vincent Price I think would have been an amazing Joker as well. And I know Vincent Price is very foppish. I believe he was even bisexual. And that's how I kind of look at the Joker. Is he's not he's a asexual being. And so I think he can have some feminine tendencies to him as well. He's a showman and stuff like that. So I wanted to add a little of that to him. So yeah. What's that?
He wears the purple well.
Oh yes, he really does. And that's my version of the character. Is a blend of those guys. Yeah.
Well, thank you.